So hello and welcome to Unpause. Today we're talking to Tiffany Hardin. Hey Tiffany.
Hey girl.
Tiffany is, oh my God, into all things marketing, PR, just getting your business together and out there to the world. Tell me about your company. What's the name of your company?
My company is Gild Creative Group, Gild.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to notate that because you think about Gild the lily. When you do that, you're placing a thin layer of gold over something already raw and beautiful. And I feel like marketing is what happens, and that's what we want to do. We want to take something that's already interesting, beautiful, and amplify that, shine it up, polish it, and let the world see it the way we do.
Oh, I love that. See, I didn't know that. I'm glad you gave me that little tidbit.
It's a little background. So our company, we mainly focus on influencer marketing, culture strategy. We have done PR, and we'll do that for the right client. Not everybody. We can't do everything for everybody, but for the right client, and really end-to-end influencer marketing activations. And sometimes that also includes like influencer events, and social strategy. A lot of strategy happens. So a lot of social strategy, partnership strategy, work like that.
Awesome. Ooh, wait. So that's influencer marketing is like huge, right? Thinking about 15 years ago, we would have never thought about that being a whole business, right? To be able to use yourself and your voice to make money just on a platform.
Yeah.
That is just amazing how that has grown. And you get to help people to, one, partner with those influencers to get their brand out there.
So we work with brands on their campaigns. So a brand will come to us and say, hey, we really want to reach this particular audience. We want to work with influencers to do that. What's the way in, essentially? With influencer marketing, like any marketing, the idea is, how can we leverage this medium to tell a story? So my company's mission is to provide superior marketing services that innovate and elevate the well-being of culture. So for us, if people aren't at the center of the thing that we're or the message, then we're not really that interested. So that also has provided such a clear criteria for us on the clients that we take on. Right now we work with Hulu, Ovia, which is a femtech company. We've done some work with Victoria's Secret. We've done work with Airbnb, Target, Microsoft, and a lot of the work that we do is really predicated on, what is this brand's message for this particular audience, and who can be the proxy for that. On the flip side of things, my background outside of marketing, it started in talent management, and so I've always been very connected to creatives and connected to what would have been back in those days, what I'm talking about, like the typical artist, musician, that kind of thing. The word talent has evolved so much over the years. So what I learned when I was in talent management was, talent is looking for, obviously to put their message out in the world through their creative medium, but it's still a business, and talent is only interested in brands and being connected to brands because it supports their deal flow and their sales. Otherwise, it's actually not a business. It's just marketing. It's just straight up here's my platform, and look at me, see Charlie run. If you don't have an audience, and if you're not building an audience, then you're not really an influencer that can move someone to an action, which is what influencer marketing is. Everyone's an influencer though. You influence your kids, you influence your friends, all that stuff. But if you can do that at scale, then that's when you start to see okay, you're a great person for me to work with to partner with this brand, because we want you as an influencer to sell a product, to make somebody more aware of something, to go to an event, that kind of thing.
Okay. So I want you to take me back. You started in corporate America, right?
Absolutely not.
No.
God, no.
So you, so I think you're the first person I talked to that just jumped out and started your business. So you have always owned or ran your own business.
Oh, so when you say start out in corporate America,
Oh,
this is what let me back it up. So, like I told you, I started in talent management, right? And so, in college, I went to school for music business, and I was in school in Chicago, at Columbia College Chicago, and then got a job with Mona Scott Young at Violator, and Violator is not corporate at all. So I would definitely not say it was corporate. But and if for those younger listeners that don't know what Violator management is, we managed Missy Elliott, 50 Cent at the time, Mariah Carey, Lil Scrappy, shout out all the major hip hop artists that were out during the 2000s. And I was there. Mona Scott Young and Chris Lighty were the founders of that company, and I worked directly for Mona. So it wasn't exactly corporate, but it was where I that was my first job in New York City. That's where I really cut my teeth. And then went to work from her to Translation, which is an advertising agency run by Steve Stout. Worked for him directly for a number of years before graduating into the strategy department and working in new business. And now what is known as influencer marketing, that's what we didn't call it that back then, but that's what I was doing at Translation, the marketing agency. So when I was working at Violator, I got all of the talent work and understood that. And then working for Translation, I understood the marketing pieces. And I think the biggest aha that I got working with Translation was, these brands want to find some type of inroad into culture and want to partner and will pay people to help them demonstrate that and demonstrate that message. And I was like, well, wait, I know not just artists, but I was like, I know the producer from that. I know the DJ from that. I know the skateboard kid from that. I know, I just was in culture and just knew these folks. And I was like, well, why don't we look at them as, people we could partner with for these different activations? And that's sort of how things started to roll. And from there, I thought to myself, well, dag, if I can do this for one agency, why can't I do this for a bunch of different people? And that's when the idea for starting my business came in. So around when I was 25 is when I started my business. I was still in Translation. So I was working full time and had this side hustle where I was working with producers and at the time blogger influencers like Karen Civil. And then around 2013 is when I left Translation and went full time into Gild Creative Group. And what's interesting about that time is that I only left. I knew it was time to leave, but I really only left because I had a former boss who's still a mentor to this day, Marcus Collins. He's actually had a strategy at Wyden Kennedy now. But at the time, I was rolling in at 10:30. I was like, whatever, and had a review and we were just chopping it up and the review was fine, but then he kind of paused and he just asked me a very poignant question, which was, why aren't you doing what you want to do? And I was like, wait. I was like, how dare you read me for filth like this? Because at the end of the day, it was why aren't I doing what I want to do? And the next question that happened in my mind was, well, who am I being loyal to? And if the answer to that question, spoiler alert, if the answer to that question isn't you, then you're not doing the right thing. You have to be loyal to you. And it was at that moment that I realized my season with this company is done. And so that's when I went and, went full time into Gild Creative Group.
That is a fantastic story. You have been all up and through the industry. So
all up and through. And what's interesting is that I was 27 when I left and went full time on my own, which is Saturn return, it's a whole, get a little woo woo, but 27 is the age where the universe tests you. Are you who you say you are, or who you think you are? Let's see. And, I was pressure tested. I started this company with a co-founder, and he is not a part of this company. He ended up selling his piece of it to me, literally 6 months after I left Translation, which was a sign for me because God wanted me to move into this direction and just used whoever to put me in the place of entrepreneurship. And then, you know, I had some really great consulting clients and worked with, you know, companies like Microsoft and Target and Airbnb, and even went consulted with WeWork, and then went full time into WeWork for a brief period, running partnerships and programming for the Creator Awards, which we did one in Nashville.
Wow.
And you know, that also taught me like corporate is not for me. I want to like I don't feel in my skin when I'm working full time as a W-2 employee for somebody else. I'm a W-2 employee for myself. So that's kind of like the arc of like the relationship that I've had between corporate America and entrepreneurship. And so
Yeah, so this is just not for you. So listen, I want to jump into like some marketing questions, and I have a few.
Okay.
I skimmed through your IG and see what you've been up to. So I have. So
Nice.
one thing is everyone wants to jump straight into marketing, right? When they start a business, they want to go straight into the marketing because you know it's the cute stuff, the pictures and the logos, and the colors. So, but what do you like to see entrepreneurs establish first before even working with you?
Well, in working with me, you actually have to have this established, because I can't make this up for you. You have to have a vision. You have to have a north star that you're following, and even if it's for a specific campaign, like you have to have a north star metric. Like, why are we here? What are we doing? What's the purpose of this? And you know, it's so interesting to think that like people are willing to like invest money into something, but they don't really know what they want. I'm like, what? And
you know what?
It's so wild.
It's so hard sometimes to come up with it. I think they want you to do it. They're
Right,
like, oh, you have the marketing brain. Here's like what I've been dreaming about. Make something out of it.
Yeah. Well, like what's funny about that is I can never, you know, even in talent management, like you cannot create someone else's dream. Like you can't create someone else's vision. There's a difference between a vision and then like someone like playing the role of integrator to like move that along.
Okay.
Because I still have to have a rock to carry. Like I still have to know like, oh, we should do this thing because it ladders back to this idea or this, you know, this overarching strategy or vision, you know, or insight even, you know, like I think when it comes to when folks should work with me, especially for the services that I provide, you know, it has way more to do with like, what do you want? You know, like, and I think that's like an essential esoteric even question about life, like but in marketing it's what do you want, because you can do a lot of things.
So even before they come to you then, so they're starting out, they you know, they've been in business for a little while, and they're trying to get everything off the ground. What do you think is the first step? I know you said vision.
I think you have to know your customer too, right? So like it's funny because I was just doing a talk on growth tips earlier today with AWS, and you have to understand, you know, who your customer is, how do they even find you, how do they get to you, and you have to understand like why do they stay with you, why do they repeat business with you. You have to also understand, do you have a business? Because there are a lot of people who want the look of something, and you know, it's hard, you know, I don't really work with folks that are like in the hobby business, you know, like what are we working on, what's the growth, like what are we doing. So that I think if someone's really focused on branding and they're like, man, I need to refresh this branding, I really don't like this, then, you know, we do a branding questionnaire together, and you know, I started getting inside of like, what does this brand even mean to you, like what are these words mean, like who, you know, what's the archetype of the person that interacts with you. As a matter of fact, I'm starting a new company right now. It's a startup, and I'm doing this exercise, right? Like I'm going back to the branding questionnaire that I have, and like, what is this? And you know, my designer, he's asking me those questions, like, you know, should we go this way? Should we go that way? Like, you know, what's the vision in your mind? And you know, I have to be able to articulate that so that I can help other people help me, you know, because I'm not going to get it by osmosis as a marketer. Like there has to be some inputs.
Okay. That's good. because you know the marketing is the fun part. I always like marketing.
It is the fun part.
I love marketing because I think it's the fun part. But okay, so talk to me. And this is a little something I saw. So talk to me about building a brand for your business, and what are some of those key things we should be starting with from scratch.
The from scratch part.
From scratch.
So this is great because I'm literally doing this right now.
Because branding and marketing is different.
It's very different.
Okay,
it's
so
very
make sure
different.
we know that.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
So from a branding perspective, and especially when you're starting from scratch, I think one of the first things you can do is figure out what you're inspired by. Like, what do you like that's already in the world? You know, and that goes from like font choices to colors to even the feeling of something, and seeing what other people in your market are doing. Like, if you have, this is kind of silly, but like if you have a cheese brand, like what are all the other cheese brands doing, and what do they look like, and is it giving off the same energy? Do you want to kind of copy that, or do you want to change that up? Do you want your packaging to be a little bit different, and what do you want people to think of when they're thinking of your brand or the packaging, because that also matters. So when you're doing things from scratch, I think part one is like figuring out what you're inspired by. Create like a Pinterest board or something that's like I like what she's doing, I like what he's doing. Think about like, who would your brand be? What celebrity would be your brand's best friend? In my case with Gild Creative Group, Tracy Ellis Ross, like that's the energy.
That's what I get. Yeah.
You're like, good, it's on brand, great. And then I would also think about that customer, like that person that you want to receive your brand, like who is she? What does she do? Or he, whatever. What do they do? Where do they shop? Where do they live? What are they reading? What blogs are they subscribed to? Like getting deep into that archetype, so that when it is time to market, like you have a sense around where that person is anyway. So I would really lean into those types of things. And I tell people all the time, like, start dreaming. Like people I think just forget to like dream, like there is no limit. So like pie in the sky, what do you want this to feel like? And how do you see it being, this is the other thing I like to do, can it compete with your competitors? Like, can your brand and that logo and those colors stand next to the rest of the brands that are in your category and feel like it belongs there?
Yeah.
Or does it look like Boo Boo the Fool?
Right. Yeah. I got you. Yeah, it makes sense. So when you think about building a brand and marketing, whatever, the main goal is to attract your ideal client or ideal customer. What are some things that I should be doing, right, to attract the right person as far as marketing or branding or social, or like what are those things as someone that's starting a business or even trying to grow their business? Like, how do you make sure that I know understanding your avatar and all those things, but like are there any other things or little trade secrets that like, how do I get them to see me and then to actually like kind of connect with the brand?
Well, I think you have to start small, right? Like, I like to say, like, no idea under the sun is like brand new, right? So there's probably already somebody that can be a model and that you can sort of borrow equity from. Like, so if you're starting from scratch and you're like, okay, my company is really similar to, I'm making this up, like Masterclass, that brand, education. Well, I can look at that too,
right.
And I can look at who's commenting there, and I can look at what they do. They spend a lot of money on paid ads, and we get them. So somebody's doing that job, right? But they spend a lot of money on paid ads. They have a freemium model. They have, celebrities that they work with. So like, I would think about the tactics that you're using, and for and you think about the tactics that you're using in relationship to where you are in your business. So for instance, if you're just starting, then you may want to think about growing an email list. And it doesn't matter what kind of company you have. Like, you want to think about growing that email list and providing value to a customer that's interested in, education, if we're taking the masterclass example. And then you really focusing on like how you can, overserve that potential customer. And like, let's say you grow this email list and you're selling something through that email, and let's say that click-through rate drives to a conversion of a sale for, I don't know, say an ebook or something, then that's probably a good tool for you to keep using and think about the frequency of that, and maybe even survey that group to figure out what their needs are, and continuing to just iterate and grow and iterate and grow. I think sometimes people want to skip the steps, skip the process.
The research.
Yes.
Most people want to skip the research.
They want to skip the research. Sure. And, at your peril, you know what I mean? Or just invest a lot of money in, what's the thing? You want to F around and find out? Like, sure, do that. F around and find out. Right. And and the correlation matters. The more you F around, the more you go find out. Right. And you're going to find out that you spent a lot of money. And you could have done smaller activities to grow. And I think some of those activities are going to have to be online, right? Like what we're doing right now. This is a prime example of how to share knowledge and how to invite people into your world through conversation. And, for me as the guest, I'm able to, take this conversation when it comes out and share that on my newsletter. I can share it on social. I can, share it in other ways. And on the flip side, you're doing that as well, right? With your marketing channels that you're using. And so for us, it works in tandem, which is why, like, I love doing talks and, panels and workshops and things like that, because a part of my why as a marketer is thought leadership. Like, that's a big tenet for, the work that I do. Because for me, there's a lot of, clout chasing happening. And there's not a lot of, teaching. And I come from a spirit of, teaching when we're talking about entrepreneurship, when we're talking about marketing, because I want to grow a new generation of leaders, that care about the work, not just the outcome or, the look of it.
Okay, good. We're going to shift, and now I want to talk to you about your content marketing and influencer marketing that you talked about earlier. And what part do they play in the growth of your brand or your business? So like the content marketing versus influencer marketing, and then how do they help grow the business?
This is interesting because, like, as a influencer marketing agency and the work that we do, I don't necessarily like do influencer marketing for the company. And there are things that we do that I enjoy, and they could be called like an influencer event, but like it's just something that I like to do. And like earlier this year we did an event in partnership with Bacardi and One Hotel where we brought like Black creatives to experience the hotel that just opened here in Nashville, and we had like a portrait studio. It was like free meal, free food. We had a poet come through and do like a really cool like stanza on each person, and it was a really fun moment. And we made content around that, and we put it on social channels. And for me as a business though, what I was able to do with that was also share that with my clients and say like, oh, this was this fun thing I did. It'd be great.
I went to one because of that video and had dinner.
Right? So like, and it's so cute.
It is.
I gotta do a spot in there soon. But like, that's one of the experiences that I like. If I'm going to do it, I like being able to do that with people without them having to do anything. Like for my company, you know what I mean? They didn't have to post anything. They didn't have to whatever. As a matter of fact, like the people that came, they were able to, I connected them directly to the hotel so that they can get a free night like a staycation weekend, and you know, the folks that came through, we had Earth Rides come pick them up and take them back home. So like they had a really elevated experience with my company and also with the hotel, right?
Yeah.
So like things like that matter to me a lot, but I don't do them often, or probably as often as I should, because I'm working in on my business. But for companies that are, let me back it up, with that content that we did though, that was an opportunity for new business, right? For brands and other clients, and even, you know, other folks to recognize, okay, we can produce at a high level that has nothing to do with anybody else, you know? And I think, you know, when it comes to, you know, different companies that are like looking into content marketing, looking into influencer marketing, and thinking of those tactics as an opportunity for growth as they're building their company, they really have to frame it up in a strategy. Like, what is the clarify your intention. Like, what is the purpose of doing this? You know, marketing is to help bring you and your customer closer, and there are a variety of tactics you can use: PR, influencer marketing, SEO marketing, paid social, like product marketing, all of these different types of things, event marketing. The biggest question you need to answer is, what is my intention with this? How am I going to measure it?
That was one of my questions. You led into that. So when you do think it's a good time to implement these marketing tactics, are there true like KPIs and ROIs when it comes to influencer marketing and this content marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you understand what your intention is. So this goes back to like vision and why, right? Because I love a good, you know, doing cool stuff to do cool stuff. Like, we just want to do this cool thing because it's, you know, it's fun for us, and we have some extra money in the budget. Why not?
Okay.
Love those. Love those. But for those of us that are, you know, continuing to build and we're looking to answer a question, then we have to get really serious, and if there's limitations around it, right? So maybe the question is, I want to grow my subscribers for my app, or let's say that.
And I'm on a budget.
And I'm on a budget. So there's guardrails now. There's limitations. And I want to do an influencer marketing program. So the question is, how can I use an influencer marketing program to grow my subscribers? What type of influencer marketing program do I really want to do that? So probably something that has to do with social, because, you know, you probably don't need influencers to go to an event, you know, or create an event for that, you know. So the goal is, and the KPI is, subscriber growth. That means when you back out of that, you're probably going to want to use influencers that have a high engagement rate. So people that are on their platforms constantly, they're talking about things, whatever. And you're probably going to want them to be invested in like whatever it is that you're selling. So a lot of D2C companies, the boutique clothing girlies, like all this, I swear to God, I should have gotten to the business of, you know, mascara and like beauty and like, you know, lashes. And,
right.
You know, I should sell mink lashes. That's my next business idea. But like those folks, like it's important for them to use influencer marketing because they can also take that content and turn it into a paid ad, right? And so you keep seeing the same stuff.
Yeah.
But if the goal is to, you know, increase subscriber growth, then you're going to want to pick influencers that have a high engagement rate, do X, Y, and Z. Y'all should subscribe and make sure that there's an attribution link in that post, whatever that post may be, and you can follow people that click that and walk them through the journey. So like you can say this influencer supported X number of conversions to my subscriber growth, and you can reward that. You know, that's why a lot of people were into like affiliate marketing. It's not my favorite at all. Like I don't like it, but it's definitely something that I think works depending on which side of the fence you're on with influencer marketing.
So beyond influencer marketing in general, content marketing, as you can see, is so many like facets to the marketing for people that are growing a business, starting a business, or whatever. When you're on a budget,
balling.
We balling down here, okay? What's the easiest, least expensive way to get in front of your customer?
Email.
But how do I get their email?
Oh,
I gotta get it.
There has to be. So this is interesting. I wouldn't do this necessarily, but there are ways you have to get invested in getting their email, right? So like, you know, you have friends, you have family, everybody has at least 100 emails, like 10 even, and you can get their email. You know, if you have a LinkedIn page, you know, you can download people's emails. Like for those people that you're connected to, they have their email address if it's connected to their LinkedIn. That's an email list. You know, there's, you know, you might be a part of some groups where you're like, hey, you may buy a list from someone. You know, there are ways to get an email list. So and it can be a very inexpensive thing. Like if you're, it can be a very inexpensive thing. However, what I will say is like, depending on where you are, there's GDPR, which is a law. It's really in Europe, but like it's a law where you need to be able to receive that email properly. But I think, you know, these days we have, you know, all of us have social media accounts where it's like, hey, sign up for my email list.
So in other words, you just got to do the work to get those email addresses.
You have to do the work.
And once you get the email addresses, then email marketing to them is the best way first.
Yeah, inexpensive way.
And inexpensive.
Yeah,
okay.
That's an inexpensive way. I would also say, you know, depending on what your brand is and what you're doing, like you are the new business strategy. You are the brand. So like you going out into the world and making relationships with different associations, different, you know, groups and meetups that exist in the world. Like you have to go out into the world and tell people what you're doing so that people can start getting invested in you, and start referring you to people.
Some people think that, you know, you remember that saying, if you build it, they will come?
They won't. They will not.
They won't come.
If you build it, you're going to be sitting there in the house by yourself.
Wait. You got to get outside and you got to get comfortable with telling people about your business. I think I talked about this with another episode, but just being comfortable with talking about your business really on social, because I know I was the person, I was like, well, I don't want to post about it again. I don't want to post about this event again. I just did it yesterday. But you really have to post the same stuff over and over again, because you don't know who's going to see it, when they're going to see it, and based on the algorithm, you may see it only one time.
Yeah. 1000%. And I think that like your business, if you're going to build a business, I don't recommend doing it off the strength of what's happening in social right now. Not just right now, but ever. Like we haven't even seen the next iteration of whatever the next thing is. You know, TikTok has been around for like 5-7 years, but people are really just getting into it now. You know, and also TikTok has been growing I remember when you couldn't advertise on TikTok, right? So like they're growing their business around advertising and you know what people can do as a corporation on TikTok. So like now people are all talking about the TikTok strategy, and it's like, right, okay, like, but you have to also know, like, if your business is catered to, you know, 35 plus moms that need X, Y, and Z. I mean, yeah, there's mom talk, but that may not be the channel for what you're trying to accomplish, which is why the intention of what you want to do is so important, and it cannot be overlooked or skipped because it doesn't seem like an action. Like, I think people skip that step just like they do in branding. Like they skip the dreaming step, the visioning step, because they don't think it's an action. But it definitely is. Just like they skip the value step. What does our company stand for? What are our values? If you skip that step, something happens in your business. Is that a part of your values? How are you going to approach the situation? You know, and I think that when we really think about business, not just as this like activity for revenue generation. It can be a breathing thing, like really doing the work to decide, like, what do you want this business to be in the world? You know, because like you said, just because you built it doesn't mean that they will come.
Right.
You have to, and that's research. Does my customer need me? Like, does this product need to be in the market, and or, you know, you don't even have to be the best at doing it, right? There were tons of lingerie companies before Savage Fenty came along.
True.
Tons of makeup companies before Fenty came along. But yet, you know, here we are. And, you know, Rihanna pivoted her career. So it's not about, to me, necessarily, you know, if you're saturating the market or whatever. It's about how are you going to build this business to be sustainable and to have a backbone, essentially.
Thank you. I have one question. Oh, you know what? I have one question.
Ooh.
You know, we got cards ready.
Yes, I love cards.
So what do you do going into like our self-care mental thing? Like what do you do to make sure you're taking care of Tiffany through all of this, managing people and projects? What do you do?
You know, it's funny. I have a subscription at Massage Luxe, and I started doing that maybe like last year, and yesterday even I got a facial and a massage, a 90-minute massage, 60-minute facial, and I know you see the skin popping. No,
glowing,
it's glowing, baby. And that really matters to me to be able to do that at least once a month. Sometimes, you know, I don't get the massage and I like rack up the months, but they're credits that are just added to my account. So like yesterday, you know, I had 6 hours on my account and I could get a massage, a 90-minute massage at that, and a facial. And it really supported just my well-being, because I need my, you know, the body keeps the score. So like if there's tension anywhere, you know, that will build up, and that's not good for me. I do every day. I wake up in the morning and I just thank God for opening my eyes, and do a little meditation and pray. And like, you know, for me, I believe that, you know, how we are mentally really affects how we show up in the world, how people respond to us, and also what's attracting itself to us. You know, and that really matters, because, you know, there are times as an entrepreneur where you are not happy. You are not in a good place, and you really have to, you know, protect your peace, and you have to change your mind sometimes about certain things. It's like an active practice to consciously change your mind, you know. And so I think that's something that you know, really resonates with me. Just being mindful of my.
I love that morning routine type of thing. It's something I think is so important. Okay.
Is this it? Oh. Wow! I can't believe this is my card.
Oh, what is it?
Ciao. Dun dun dun.
What is it?
Who is your mentor and why? This is interesting because I don't think I really have like an active mentor.
Okay.
And I've had really great teachers. Some of my old bosses, really, really great teachers. And a lot of life lessons from them. But I think I'm in a place now where I need new teachers. And so I don't necessarily have a mentor, but I do have people in my life that I trust with telling them like the real around my business, and seeking their guidance as, you know, advocates in my world. I do want a proper mentor though. That would be fantastic. I think in this next phase of my career, that's something I will have.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you coming by.
Yes.
And so, do you have anything that you have going on that you want to share?
Oh, yeah. I always got a little something
What you got going on?
Always got a little something going on. So Gild Creative Group, definitely two things that we offer for some of our smaller businesses is kind of like a VIP day. So, and it's at a very much discounted rate than like some of our major clients. So, you know, we do an audit. We'll deliver to you like an influencer, you know, like audit, like, you know, in a sort of creative strategy that's just like top line, like super fast paced, within like 4 weeks. So like we have the conversations about what you want. We deliver an influencer program for you to execute. And for influencers, creatives that want to do an audit on their business, because they are micro entrepreneurs as well, we'll do an audit with you on that. So like if you go to Gild Creative Group /VIP off VIP, then you'll see our offerings there for small businesses and influencers and talent. And then, you know, next year I'll be I'm going to pre-seed. So next year I'll be really focused on a startup that I'm building called Represent. And it's focused on democratizing professional services for creatives and influencers. So it's going to be really exciting.
Oh, I'm excited to hear more about that.
Tech-enabled tools, contract readers, pricing calculators, expert marketplace for people like me and others that are professionals and work with creatives all the time.
Well, we'll make sure to share more about that when that comes down the pike. I'm super excied for you. Next year is going to be fantastic. I know it. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to check the show notes to learn more about connecting with our guests. Also, if you haven't done so already, join our Bold in Business community at boldinbusiness.co.